Happy Saturday, everybody. I am Dee Hill, and you are watching Of Two Mindsets. Welcome back to the show. We're trying to get things started again, and I'm happy to have two of my closest people here with me. One of them you know already. He is now going by RJ. RJ, welcome back to the show. How's everything
Hey,
going?
everything's going well. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. You look good,
Mhm.
brother.
Thank you.
What's been happening over these past few years? Anything you want to talk about in your life?
Not a whole lot of changes. Just life going on. I like the bookshelf.
I
I like background. Very
appreciate it.
nice.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
everything's good. Everything's good. No complaints.
Glad to hear
Well,
it.
I mean, I'm not going to complain. I should say no complaints. I'm
Hey,
not going to complain. There you
hey, I
go.
say it's all right to complain as long as you complain to somebody who can do something about the
Oh,
complaint.
that was gonna be my next comeback. It's like, unless you're gonna do something, then you can complain. But yeah, I'm good.
Right. And next up, we have my brother from another mother, Izzy.
Literally.
Izzy is in the house.
That's right. How y'all doing?
Good to
Good.
see you.
Good to see you, Izzy.
Same
Izzy,
here.
tell the people a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to tell them.
Whew, what is it to know? I'm just a guy. I like to learn about all kind of things. Love to read, work a lot. And that's about it, man.
What,
Got
what you read anything? What's the last thing you read?
um. Well, I've been reading that book you sent me, and it's very good. I haven't finished it yet. But before then, what was the last thing I read? Uh. Well, I couldn't tell you. Probably. Oh, I'm looking at it now. The Lost Teachings of Atlantis. Yeah, that was the last thing I read.
Gotcha.
Before the name of the game is the one I'm reading now, and it's good. It's relating life to the game of chess, and chess is my favorite game, so I'm enjoying it.
Nice. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. What can you tell us? Where did the name Izzy come from?
That's a name that I picked up early in life in my teenage years, doing music. It's a name that just came to me. So
Nice.
it's
Nice.
almost like a spiritual name.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
cool. That's cool. RJ, you reading anything interesting lately?
Not currently, no.
No.
No, can't say that
That's
I am.
understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, one place I know that you did read was when you were in college. And
Yeah.
today we're going to talk about HBCUs. For those who don't know, because HBCUs are usually something we talk about in the United States as historically Black colleges and universities. And tell us about your brief history of your life at the HBCU that you attend.
Well, uh, graduated a long time ago, the '80s. Um, I guess to your point, I'm going to give a little background on HBCUs. It says here, the National Center of Education, that HBCUs are defined by law as a degree granting institution established before 1964 with the principal mission of educating Black Americans. So that's their foundation, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, for me, like I mentioned, I went to HBCU in the late '80s. Around that time, well, the Cosby Show was a big thing.
Right, right.
84, and the fictional College of Hillman was a big uh, uh, impetus for a lot of Black folks to
For sure.
Yeah.
explore Black college, and it's backed up. They have stats on all of that. So it says is that in the growth of Black students from 1984 to 2004 was about 40%. So we basically almost doubled the enrollment of undergraduate students, not just in Black schools, but in college in general,
Right.
compared to compared to whites, is about 15%. So you can see it was big even after the civil rights movement of the late 60s. But the spin I was getting at, this topic of HBCUs is whether they are vital or still relevant,
still needed.
The point I'm coming at is their mission was to educate Black Americans, right?
Why
Why
and I'm sorry for interrupting, but why was it necessary for those who don't know?
Oh, it was necessary because prior to the 1965 law, they it was really hard for Blacks in general to get into a college. So these predominantly or HBCUs were created to have a place for Blacks to, if they wanted to go to college, this is where you can go. And a funny fact about college, not just HBCUs, prior to the Civil Rights Movement, a lot of these state colleges were actually free. So it wasn't until the 70s where, we see these for-profit colleges start popping up. Is it simultaneous that, their enrollments are bigger? So it's kind of like an economic thing. You see more people going, so okay, let's get paid off of this. So it's kind of interesting that point of it. That's where I was actually going with it.
Gotcha.
What differentiates these Black schools now from a regular or predominantly white institution? What is the difference, or is there a need for them? It's we here in Atlanta we have 10. So I'm gonna give you a trick question.
Okay.
We have 10 HBCUs in Atlanta alone, or excuse me, in the Georgia area. Which how am I gonna say this? Which has the largest? What school in Georgia has the largest Black population? What would you say?
Izzy, you want to give that a shot?
I could not tell you. I would have no idea.
You said
Black population.
Who graduates the most Blacks?
Who graduate the most Black?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure most people probably would assume it's an HBCU, but I'm gonna go the other way and say probably either UGA or Georgia Tech.
You hit it. It's Georgia State. Georgia State.
Okay.
Georgia State. And they actually categorize Georgia State as a predominantly Black school. And
which
the
is
reason
different.
for that is
different from an HBCU.
It's different from an HBCU, but because their graduation rate is 25% of Blacks, they get categorized as a Black school, which I thought was 25%. I thought was crazy. Yeah, 25%.
Wow.
But they're up to 34%, but the criteria is 25%. Will categorize you as a predominantly Black school, which I thought was crazy.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So HBCUs have brought us some very famous people, some very powerful people.
Right.
Kamala Harris went to Howard.
Right.
She's considered the most, I think she's considered the most powerful woman in the world. Oprah went to Tennessee State University. I didn't know that was an HBCU, but it is. Of course, Spike Lee, Samuel L. Jackson, they both went to Morehouse. So these are people who are great in some aspect of the things that they do.
Right.
So we know that there is value there. And I guess the question is it necessary? Has it been? We know that we started having HBCUs because, you just couldn't get into a white school.
Right.
So now you can't keep a white person or any other person out of school because it's against the law out of an HBCU.
Right. No, and it's funny you say that too, because there is one HBCU in West Virginia. Hold on a second. I got it here. It's what is it called? Bluefield
Okay.
Bluefield State College in West Virginia, which is 77% white. but they're considered an HBCU, or they are an HBCU because that was how they were created as a
Yeah.
a school
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
black Americans, which
Yeah.
is
So
interesting.
there's been an evolution.
It's an evolution. So
Absolutely.
if you're white, you can go to an HBCU.
Right.
It's you know not restricted like that.
And Deidre, when you was rattling off the people that went to HBCUs, did you say people of color? Did you say black? Because I really don't consider Kamala Harris to be
Well,
black.
go ahead and talk about that. I think I did
Uh-oh.
say black.
What'd you say?
I just wanted to be specific on that. I didn't know what
No,
you
it's
was talking
well. Why don't you
about,
dive
black
into
people
that?
or just people of color.
Why don't you dive into that? I did say black people, but go ahead and correct me.
Oh no, that's all I wanted to say on that. But I did have something I wanted to ask you guys. Now, my issue, I'm sure HBCU had a big place at one point in time of significance. But what I wanted to ask is, like with any black organization that usually needs funding, everything starts out, mission driven and black, pro-black and everything. But once you need funding and it's funded by white institutions, does that kind of corrupt the mission statement, sort of? Or do you think, like, sort of like churches, have you have churches in black neighborhoods or churches in certain communities, but you know that because they get funding, there's certain things they may not be able to talk about or to uphold or promote because of the funding that they get. So do you guys think that that is something that people should look at as well? Do you think it's an issue at all? Or
Well, let me ask you this: what issue do you think might come about because of that type of funding, or because of that type of influence?
well, I mean, just specifically, maybe not being able to talk about certain things or push certain ideologies that they may want to. Like, I'm just generally speaking, but I mean, if you really just look into it, whoever you get funded by can sort of steer where your ideologies come from, what motives you're pushing, what your mission statement is, and what you can and can't do. So it's just a question I'm posing to you guys. Do you think that that is an issue, or you
I'm gonna
know?
shoot. I'm gonna shoot that
Go
over
ahead.
to RJ because you're the one. I went to predominantly white college, two white predominantly white colleges, and you have the HBCU experience.
Mm-hmm. I think it could be. It because you're talking about people that are lining your pockets. I guess it depends on who are the ones that are giving you the money. Or that's a good question. I guess it depends. Um, but the reality is we don't live in a black America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's reality. There's no, I mean, people say black America, but there really is not. We are 13% of the population. You know what I'm saying? There's 40 million people in America or so are black. So it's not like, I don't know. I think it can. To your point, I think I can't. I think there's no point that they can influence, like you said, ideologies or things that are spoken or taught on the campus. But
Right.
you get that with any school, though. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any
I
school, not
agree.
just a black school.
And
So
I would think that would raise some red flags to the school administration if a donor says, "Hey, this professor or this class is teaching this. We don't want that to happen." Um, I'm sure that might come about, but I would hope that there would be some pushback. I'm not familiar with any particular examples of that. We see more examples of actual students pushing back on, like, speakers coming in to speak on campus if those ideologies of those speakers are against the uh, those students who are let's say, the majority. Um, we get a lot of pushback from that, and there's a lot of free speech talk when we hear speakers coming to universities. Not so much, and again, just from what I hear, we don't hear that so much from donors being rejected or having ideals that are different from those of the school. And I guess, you're probably not going to donate to a school that's teaching something that you don't agree with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And that's just, coming off the top of my head and looking back on the history that I can summon at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. So, RJ, like I
Yes.
said, I went to predominantly white universities. What would you say is the major difference outside of there, of course, being mostly black people on the campus? What's the major difference, you at least from your experience?
Uh, for me, it was a little bit different. When I didn't really, I had they were so overcrowded at Hampton that I had my freshman year that I had to stay off campus because, like I said, it was such an influx at that particular time. They was like taking everybody they could. They weren't turning anybody away. So my experience was maybe not the best for that fact alone that I had to stay off campus. So a lot of the stuff was going on. I really didn't get to, um, you know, interact with. But yeah, for the most part, it was
Wait,
just more
you didn't get
more
to
black
interact
folks
with you didn't get to interact with what or who?
with the campus life. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know from living on campus,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
absolutely.
8 o'clock, I had to go home. I had the buses stopped running around that time, so I had to get on the road and back to my
I
house.
got
So
you.
it's a little different.
I got you.
Especially being a freshman, being far away from home. It was different.
How far away from home were you?
Well, Connecticut to Virginia, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Um, so that's pretty far away. My first time being away, at that time, this is um, a lot of black folks. Maybe during the '80s, this is like maybe the second, if you're lucky, second generation of kids going to college. Third, if you're
Hmm.
really lucky. But some, it was their first generation
Right. Right.
uh, of of children going to college. So
Yeah, well, my dad went to college. So I guess we were the second, but yeah, prior to that, nobody went to college. Yeah,
right, yeah. Think
yeah,
about it. I mean,
right.
so
Yeah. So
time goes fast. What? Go ahead.
no, we were talking about donors. Izzy brought up donors, and I was prior to doing this meeting, I was looking at when Howard gave Diddy that um,
Oh, and they took it
honorary
back.
degree.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and
and
they they took it back.
this was
Mm.
3 years ago that he got it, and he donated I think $1 million, and I was I was watching it and I was waiting for them to say but they had to take it back. But this was a video from 3 years ago, and it was such a happy occasion. And now, man, it's crazy that
So
all
to
of that
that, did
happened.
they? I saw the part where they mentioned that they revoked his honorary degree. Did they give him his money back too, or no?
I
Did they
don't know.
mention that?
I
I haven't.
probably not. I wouldn't think they'll do
All right,
that.
yeah.
Probably.
Mm,
Probably not. Oh,
mm,
well, actually, I'm not sure because I think sometimes they will refund that money. I don't know if
mm,
they've done that with him yet or not, though. Yeah.
mm.
But speaking of HBCUs, you know, a college education leads to jobs, and if you're black, you get black jobs. And on the debate the other night, they were talking about black jobs. And,
Mhm.
since the debate, we've been seeing a lot of memes about the Biden and Trump's mention of black jobs. So you both watched the debate. Izzy, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, soon as I watched it, I noticed. Soon as it started, I noticed a couple of things. Now, I've never, maybe I'm wrong, but I've never known in a debate where they muted the mic while the other one was talking. That's a new thing, right?
Yeah, this is the first time I think I've seen it happen.
Okay.
Well, because previous debates, especially like the Republican debate, they had so many folks talking at the same time. That's when they should have implemented that. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is
But see,
new.
I'm gonna tell you why I think they did that. I think they did that because they know Biden mental is deteriorating. So anything interrupting him at all would really make him stumble. That's why I think they implemented that. That's
Well,
just my opinion.
I
That's
think
just my
that,
opinion.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but Biden wanted this. He's the one who wanted this debate, and I think that he had a lot. He and his team had a lot to do with the rules, and they wanted Trump to agree with them.
Well, that would
So
make sense. I mean, he probably did want it since he losing a lot of the black support he once had. So he probably was trying to do something to stop the bleeding. So
right.
So the next thing I noticed though instantly was when they was talking about the inflation. And they said that inflation was slowing down, but the price will remain high. And they used the analogy of what $100 used to get you is now costs 120. If my math right, that's 20% inflation, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's not the number they've been using for the past couple of years. It's been more around about 12% or somewhere around by there. So they really kind of told the truth, which
Gotcha.
a lot of the financial people I watch all the time and listen to, that's closer to the true inflation. 20% is. You can feel it when you go to the gas pump, when you go to the grocery store, whatever. I
And
don't know about y'all.
prices are ridiculous. Oh yeah, yo, it doesn't matter how much money you're making right now. Inflation is inflation. It's ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to the grocery store and what you used to pay for, and what was usually 8 bags, you now come out 5 bags.
Yeah.
For that
Yeah.
same
I
amount of
mean,
money.
$100. Yeah, that's like four good bags, really. $100.
Right.
I mean, I remember going to the grocery store with my mother back in the day. Now you talking about a family of 5, and that's mom and dad of 3 kids. I mean, I remember her spending $120, and that was a lot, but it got enough for the whole family. Like, it's nowhere in the hell you could feed a family off of that now.
Right.
Like, it's, and we would come out with a bucket full of groceries, and I cannot imagine that now. Like, but yeah, that inflation, it's a killer. The third thing, um, well, I don't know if y'all know this about me, but as far as the voting thing, I really don't vote. So you know me, Dick.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Hey, let me ask you, Izzy, you don't vote
But
because you don't like the candidates, or you just don't vote
I mean,
because
I just feel like this. In a system of white supremacy, how can we vote something that's going to benefit us? Like, I just don't see how. To me, you have to really put on blinders to really just be a part of the voting situation, because I don't see. I feel like when you do vote for something that you feel like is gonna benefit us, somehow they'll come through and nullify that later on and work around the benefits that we have voted in. I just don't think our freedom and liberation as Black people is gonna be through voting until we can straighten everything else out.
Let me touch on something right quick, and we have about 7 minutes before we want to end this.
Well, how about we end this and restart again then? Because
well, we'll come back to it another day, perhaps.
okay.
But RJ and I were having a discussion, maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer, about whether or not Black people should be fighting for the rights and the benefit of just Black people, instead of trying to focus on the issues outside of adding race to it. Do you remember this conversation, RJ?
yes, yeah,
Yeah. And I do think that we are owed reparations. But I think for every other issue, the fight is going to have to be a united fight, and it's going to have to be outside of saying we just want this for Black people. It has to be for everyone. I think that's the only way there's going to be progress for those issues that are, probably hurting Black people more than anybody else. What are you thinking, Izzy?
That's what I'll get into next. See, I disagree with that. Because historically, if you look, everything we do, if we even allow anybody in it, they tend to take over and tend to benefit more than we do. And one thing I was gonna point out to was that if you listen to when they was talking about what Biden has did for Black people, everything he talked about was something that was for everybody.
Right.
Well, to your point,
Yeah.
Izzy, because he said he reduced childcare costs,
Right.
and then he said, what else? Talk about student loans, and then my immediate thought was like, okay, those are every, like you point, Diedrich, those are things for everybody.
Right.
So that's how I think that's how he has to attack it. He has to go at it with the things that are affecting Black people the most, and just go that route. It is going to benefit everybody.
That's my point.
I don't think there's no other way you can do it.
It's never just about us, though, and that was my whole point. That,
right.
And if you notice, they kept attaching Hispanics to everything they said about us, and that's why you cannot have anybody else involved in our liberation, because it's always going to be. Because see what white supremacy is going to do, since we are the ones that continuously fight them. They want everybody else attached to us, and then when we actually get something pushed that is supposed to benefit us, everybody else is going to get the benefits, and it's always been like that. So that's why we can't have anybody attached to the things we do.
But I think that, and like we've seen, there's this one group for Black women that is trying to garner investment money for Black run or for companies that are run by Black women. And there's this guy who attacks all these sorts of efforts. And I think the problem is that it's probably looked upon as illegal for something to only be able to be benefiting a person or a group of people just because of their race. And so that's why I think it's probably going to have to be another way, which, we're going to have to find those things that are dragging us down the worst and try to make movements that, I hear what you're saying, but it's probably going to have to be something that's to benefit everybody, not just us.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think I remember Jennifer Lopez coming out and speaking on and trying to latch on to that same movement, saying that they should give the money to Hispanic or whatever word she used, Latino women. I mean, I adamantly disagree with that. And I just don't feel like we will ever benefit when other people are a part of it. I mean, if you notice, everybody put their people first, and we just got to start doing the same thing. I mean, I won't budge on that. So,
all right. Well, I think that's a good place to put a tail on it for now. I'm going to ask Izzy, would you like to give the people where they can reach you on social media?
well, right now you can't reach me on Instagram because I got banned from Instagram.
Ooh. I can almost see why.
I responded to the Missouri Secretary of State about the Latino woman, the Secretary of State for Missouri. I responded to the video she put out saying, Juneteenth was ghetto and ratchet, and Black people need to get the fuck out if we don't like America, So I responded to that, and I got banned. So
okay. Are you available anywhere else on social media?
I am on YouTube, but it's mainly music. And until I get it where I don't want to give it out.
All right. Well, we'll hope to see you back up soon. RJ, would you like to give the people your social media and where they can reach you?
Yeah, you can reach me by trailways. You can reach me on the airplane, and you can reach me with your mind.
All right. All right.
Yes.
Great. Great. Love it. I love it. All right, y'all. My name is Dee Hill. And if y'all do want to reach us, you can email us at of2mindsets@gmail.com. That's OF, the number two, mindsets, mindsets@gmail.com. And we'll definitely get back to you. And we appreciate y'all watching this. And we hope it's the start of something good and that we keep this up for y'all and watch it grow. Sorry.
Izzy got to start. We got to have a follow up to his last comments.
See how it goes by fast, man, when you got good
Yeah.
conversation. And we're going to have plenty more for y'all. So this has been of Two Mindsets. Thank you for joining us and
All
have
right,
a great
fellas.
day, everybody.
All right.
Take care.